afternoon. You're welcome to the faculty. The faculty is a public affairs program on Delta Broadcasting Service Television every weekday. Today's faculty is going to be looking at a very, very important topic, and that's been in the public domain for quite some time, moving into the 2027 elections. We're looking at the defection tsunami that we have seen in 2025 amongst the different political parties in Nigeria, and not forgetting the upcoming 2027 general elections. How are they correlated? What are the indices for evaluation and propensity for the different political parties to hold sway? We've gotten the APC, the PDP, APGA, and of course the new coalition, the ADC. We have information relating to different movements amongst political parties and politicians per se. Both those moving from the political parties where they were voted into power to political parties where supposedly they're assuming that power could be consolidated. Nigeria is on the edge of democratic tsunami come 2027. What are the factors that we are going to be looking that could make 2027 a most realistic transition to another democracy? How prepared is INEC for this election? Is Nigeria actually a country that has an opposition? There's so many questions to be asked and so many answers to be answered. I've got two great men in the studio to throw more light on this discussion. To my far left is a man I respect so much, a First Republic politician and an octogenarian, a man of impeccable integrity, and I call him intellectual encyclopedia. Please, let's make welcome Chris Obiose. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much indeed.
And of course, a younger generation of Biose, upcoming, but then full of content as well, Chika Omoso. Comrade Chika Omoso, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, viewers.
Yes, always a pleasure. I want to start with our octogenarian, our father. You are a member of foundation member of political engineering in Nigeria. So can you take us through historical perspective, considering what we are seeing presently, or what we have seen in 2025 in areas of movement of politicians from one political party to another, and relating it to the First Republic? Can you give us the interface?
Thank you very much indeed. Well, I appreciate your introduction because it is impossible to understand current events without reference to their social and historical context. And this is most relevant to what we are discussing today, namely what you have referred to as the tsunami of political defections in Nigeria. Yeah. Talking about politics in the First Republic, there is a world of difference between what we had in the First Republic in terms of commitment to ideas and ideologies, and between what obtained at that time and what obtained since the return to civil rule in 1999. Since return to civil rule in 1999, it has been all about struggle for political power rather than commitment to democracy. There had been little or no commitment, no moral commitment to social democracy. It has been all about acquisition of political power. This is also what the Indian sage calls politics without principles. All you have to do, all people are concerned is how do you acquire political power. This made it easy for people to jump from one political party to another. Another factor that contributed to this was the corrupt environment in which became more severe during from 1999 onwards. That most of the people you see in politics are actually scammers. Scammers in the sense that they are not there to serve. The objective of politics, according to the English polymath, Bertrand Russell, should be to make the lives of people as good as possible. Or according to Bertrand Russell, the founder of utilitarianism, the greatest happiness for the greatest number. But that is not what we find today. It is selfishness all the way. There is no commitment to moral values. So in addition to that, we come to the immediate trigger for what you have referred to as a tsunami, which was a result of the build-up to the 2023 presidential election, whereby the current president, President Tinubu, had his Muslim presidential ticket to win the votes of the northern leaders, or to win the support of the northern leaders, who value their religion more than any other thing, more than democracy. He got the votes, well, presumably more than 60%. But what happened after that? The disillusionment of northern leaders was so severe shortly after the election that most of them became disgruntled and decided to openly oppose President Tinubu and declare that they would not support him in 2027. This was the immediate trigger of President Tinubu's manipulation of his political machine to try to win over. I put it very mildly. I don't want to put it in a very hard way, to try to win over, gullible politicians, governors from the southeast, south, and southwest to join him in what is, referred to as Southern Solidarity, which is a ruse, because the actions of his supporters in Lagos State, who were burning people's houses and destroying people's houses, people of South, does not give credence to the idea of Southern Solidarity. It's just a ruse.
Okay, no problem. I'll come back to you. Let's get Chikamoso. You've heard Chris Biose give us an interface between the old political climb and the new political climb. And let's get your opinion on what is happening, the political tsunami that we have seen in the Nigerian democratic landscape in the last 2 years.
Thank you very much. It gives me a lot of joy that even we civilians are not talking politics. Today is 31st. Yeah, before the new year. Today is 31st of December 2025, and 2025, in my mind, has witnessed the greatest number of defections in 1 year. From what I know,
in the history of democracy.
Okay, thank you. You know better. In the history of democracy in Nigeria, But from me, I want to check from 1999. And usually, when they defect, they move towards the election before defection. But this defection has been happening. Former vice president, former minister, former governors, and even sitting governors defecting. It shows the weakness of our party system. Party control. There's no party control in our democracy in Nigeria. That's the very obvious thing that we're seeing, because people now leave the party that brought them to power without questioning, without consequences. But I wouldn't want to hold it against us, because I believe that we're evolving. I thank God we don't use the word nascent democracy anymore, because there's no reason to even talk about nascency, as it were, being young, when in the real world of men, we talk of leverage. If America has been there for 200 years, we will not wait 200 years before we get to where they are, because we leverage on technology, on skills and systems. So, but like I said, our objective here for politics in Nigeria is the alternative to power and to wealth to control. And that has led to, like Daddy had just said, lack of ideology and staying put to what one believes in. He said it mildly, but I want to put it straight that on two ways, the president is trying to compel all men to join his party, and our democracy is still very young. Our people are still very gullible. I choose to use that word instead of saying maybe foolish or not learned enough politically, so that we are sentimental when it comes to the issue of judgment as per what government should be and what those in government should do. because you cannot say, on one ground, people are saying that since the North is turning against the president who is from the South, the Southern leaders are saying, no, let's support our own. On the other hand, they are saying, no, the president is compelling them to join them with lots of billions. Whichever be the case, we're just saying that this movement is possible because our democracy is not strong yet. In civilized climes, what I know is that you defect before election so that people know where you're standing. You don't leave the party that brought you to power in the middle of your term or when your tenure is still on. You wait until after that period before you now say you're going to join a new party or something. But in Nigeria, you can move. And some people are getting the penalty for moving. Some are not getting the penalty. You see, our system, when we talk about politics and politicians, we must know that it's not politics that changed. I think it's the world around us that changed. I'm saying this to say that the politicians are a crop of people from us, from our homes, from the society. It shows what the society has become, because these politicians did not fall from the sky. What they are doing in politics is what is happening around us. Our homes are not together anymore. So politicians come up and they tend to do with us whatever they like. Because again, in those days when our fathers were growing up, I'm sure a father or a mother would tell the son where to go. You know, there's so much control. These days, it's your son that will come and tell you where to go. So in a house, you can have mother and father in different political parties. There's no control. It's a reflection of the society, actually. And because there's no penalty for doing what they are doing, check the case of Fubara, River State and all of that, which is soft-pedaling a bit. And check the case of some other persons who defected and court nullified their position. And the case of Rivers. You see, even the judiciary is not together. We're not getting the same judgment. So this tsunami is good, I would say, because one thing I want to state here is that moving from one political party to another is part of democracy. But how it is done and when it is done is what we are talking about here. In other places you can move, but there is a period of movement. There is a stipulated law of when you can move, especially before the next election. And if you have been elected, there are laws that guide movement from one political party to another. But our own issue here, and what we're talking about, is that there are no rules, there are no laws. You wake up, you move. Even those in a political party are not aware. They wake up one morning, today they are in PDP. The next day they are in APC. You wake up one morning, you are in APC. The next day you are in ADC. Some of them are here and there. I just heard of one that happened recently. One of the presidential aspirants for 2023 who just moved to ADC in Enugu because he too has been watching the move. But it's happening.
When did he move? Today?
Yes.
Okay.
So you see,
good one.
We want to see change in 2027, but not the change mantra we used to know. We want to see that our joy will be that after all this movement, it will pan out to something good, to what Nigerians want. Like I stated I started by stating that it's interesting that we civilians were talking about defection and politics already. It means that the Nigerian people are also getting more aware. And it's not going to be game as usual going forward.
Game as usual going forward. If you're just joining us, of course, it's the faculty, a public affairs program on Delta's broadcasting service, Asaba. I've got Chris Obiose and Chika Moso right here as my panelists. And Chris Obiose, I want you to take us back. The first generation, you are a historian and a product of history and democratic dispensation, being part of the First Republic in then Bender State, and being a founding member of the UPN rather, in Delta State. Now, the political ideology, a very, very sacrosanct ingredient in democracy. Can you relate political ideology in the Second Republic, where you have MPN, UPN, MPP, GMPP, and the PRP? And during that era, we hardly noticed political defections like we're saying now because there was ideology. Reflect it to what we are seeing here today.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The politics of the Second Republic was a continuation of the politics of the First Republic. In spite of 13 years of military interregnum, in the First Republic, let me say, prior to the Nigerian independence, there were two opposed political ideas about what Nigeria should be. One was a continuation of what existed prior to independence, represented by the then Northern People's Congress, which was feudal and pro-British in ideology. The second was led by the Action Group, which represented a departure from what existed during the colonial regime. It represented a departure of what Awolowo called, he said in one of his speeches in the UK in 1957, that every vestige of British or new influence of the British on Nigeria should be discontinued. And he tried to chart an independent path to a self-reliant, new and self-reliant country. And the idea was, he said, the idea was to find what are those variables that Nigeria needs as a backward or underdeveloped third world ex-colonial society. And he enumerated it in his 1959 electoral campaign, 13 points, of which the first was education and health. Because he believed that it was impossible for a country of the size of Nigeria, never mind the population has grown, it has always been big, to break out of its poverty or backwardness without skills. And these skills, you need education. And the Northern People Congress was diametrically opposed to this. In fact, one of the cardinal programs of the Northern People's Congress was opposition to Western education. And this was illustrated by one of the American sociologists who worked in the British, in the Northern government at that time, Mr. James S. Coleman, in his book. And he said the single most important policy of the British, which was continued after independence, was narrow adherence to conservative Muslim ideology, which was anti-Western, anti-education. And this was the basis of the opposition to Awolowo in 1959. So living after 4 years or 5 years of the First Republic and the, what is it called, and the first coup, after 13 years of military rule, the NPN reincarnated, the NPC reincarnated under the NPN, Northern People's Congress, National Party of Nigeria, while the Action Group, no, not AC, Action Group,
UPN.
yes, under the UPN.
What about NCNC reincarnated in
Now,
NP?
NCNC was a coalition partner of the Northern People's Congress, and NCNC was swallowed. It had no opportunity of expressing itself. It was a coalition partner of the Northern People's Congress, just like what happened in the Second Republic. Dr. Azikwe's NPP again became swallowed by the National Party of Nigeria. So there were two opposed ideologies. These ideologies continued. In 1979, the 13-point program of the First Republic of the Action Group was coalesced into the 4 cardinal programs of the Unity Party. Free education at primary and secondary levels, free health care, urban and integrated rural development, full and gainful employment. Now, this was supposed to be a basis for economic takeoff of the country. Now, we don't have this kind of ideology, and not only that, it was put into practice during the First Republic. Remember that Awolowo in 1955, February, implemented one of the most revolutionary social programs in the black world, in fact, in the world history. In February 1955, 400,000 children, 5-year-old or 6-year-old, went to school for the first time in Western region of Nigeria. It was revolutionary and unprecedented. No other government had been able to implement that. Awolowo gave the Western region a head start over all other regions in the country.
In terms of academics.
In terms of developing the brain power. The mental power of the people.
So what are those things that are lacking now in this political dispensation that we found ourselves presently?
A greedy man cannot lead a nation. A greedy human being cannot lead a nation.
How did we get? Who created the greed, the system? Because if
I told you in my first comment, in my opening comment, that progressivism died with the First and Second Republics. At the end of military rule, the military manipulation of the indices of power, whereby they manipulated to go and bring a former military dictator as a inheritor of democracy. It was not based on democracy. If you go and read the comments of Carter Center, report of the Carter Center on the 1999 elections, how the election was rigged for Obasanjo, there are many things that people don't want to know. The election was rigged for Obasanjo, and it has continued to get worse ever since that time. 2003 was worse than 1999. 2007 was worse. It has continually got worse. There has been no commitment to democracy. That was my opening word.
Yes, I think that's the word. That's the word I want to pick.
No commitment to democracy.
By the present crop of politicians.
Now, if you look at the most important faces of the present government, President Tinubu, Akpabio, Jason Wike, go and read the laws that they passed for pension for themselves. Go and read the law they passed for pension for themselves while they were governor. The type of money they passed for themselves.
And you call yourself?
And they call themselves progressive. They are abusing the word progressive. Progressive has a meaning. Progressive implies that you are leveling the environment and making the weak to come up and giving more power to the underprivileged classes.
I'm going to come back to you because I know you are full of. I'm going to come back to you. Okay, you're full of history. Also, we're looking at the critical. If you look at Chris Biosejo's main mention, he referenced a lot of things. The quality of politics that we're playing right now.
Deteriorated. There are no principles.
Yeah. Let's look
there
at
are no principles.
The quality related to the two divides, the First Republic and the Fourth Republic. Let's look at the quality of politics.
There's a clear-cut line between those there and the kind of people we have right now. And if you ask me, we may not find the solution readily now. I will want to take the toll of a businessman who went to a particular country to sell a particular tea, and he discovered that they were not buying. So a new management came and said, what do we do? They discovered that these people are not used to things like this. So he set out a program to begin to educate the younger ones. And 30 years later, the business came back to that same country and they began to sell the tea in millions. The idea is that they have been able to teach a new set of people, a new ideology. Our curriculum will change. Even in the Bible, it happened. God barred some people from going into the promised land.
Yes.
Everyone who was of age, from a particular age, who had sense to make judgment of what is right and what is wrong, but they couldn't do it. He had to stop them and raise a new generation. The country is so bastardized. Look at what is happening to Malami today. He is complaining how the EFCC have been told by a court to release him and he's there. And now another court judgment is that he, his wife, and the son should be remanded at Kuje. He was there. He presided over lawlessness. Now the same lawlessness is happening. And some of us will just sit by because it's not happening to the person who presided over it someday. But the truth of the matter is that how can we thrive in a lawless country? Most of our problem is hinged upon the fact that there are no penalties for crime. There are no penalties for doing the wrong things in this country. Exactly. Now we talk about, I think it's not the governors that are the problem, it's the people. Yes, we have a leadership problem, but we also have a followership problem. The people don't know what is theirs and what to demand of their leaders. That's why as an ex-governor, you make rooms for pension and this, and then you enter government again, and the other one also continues. It is supposed to be that, should it be that from this place I don't work in government anymore, I'm not active in government anymore, these are due me, and there will be a process. But this process will not be duly followed, because look at what is happening in Rivers. It's a good example, where the ex-governor says he owns the legislators. This was how he also owned the one that was on seat when he was governor. So if he brings a law, people who should represent the people and think for the people, sit on behalf of the people, they are not thinking. They get their money. And so you see, the other day I said we don't have representative. And someone said we have, but representative to self. Whichever way we want to put it, we don't have representatives. We have people who are bastardized in their thinking, in their minds. And they are the ones who are good enough to run election and win election in this country. Because they know how to buy the people. They know what to do to get. The good ones are, should I say, lazy, not knowing exactly what to do, how to play this card and win the game. It's unfortunate. So if I were God, I would say, this generation should pass away. Let's have a new generation, because you can't help these people. These people cannot be helped. Look at an old man who is our president, for example, today. When we were hearing the word, it's my time, it's my time, I thought the man was solidly prepared to deliver on democracy, do some certain things that nobody else had been able to do. But we're not seeing the evidence of experience and wisdom. And then you bring a young person. We had a governor that was very young. He still didn't perform. So the issue is not about age, it's not about where they come from, it's about the orientation. And that's why somehow I tilted a bit to our home. These people, they did not fall from the sky. We raised them. The society raised them. How did we raise our people that nobody even thinks of legacy anymore? Which legacy am I leaving for my people? The government we have in the past, even the one they are criticizing, the Obasanjo that we will say was rigged to power, it seemed to have been more successful than the successive leaders. Are we going to talk about Yaradua? Oh, he didn't have time to rule for a long time. Or is it Jonathan? Or is it Buhari? Or now, we live in a country such that when a new government comes in, we wish the old one was still there. The one that we complained about, that we wanted to change, we now wish he's the one that is in power. So we need to rejig the system. For me personally, one of the ways we are going to help the next generation is to start building the political consciousness and ideology into our curriculum. Let's teach children. Let our children, because the countries that are making things happen, they are human beings like us, and they are not better than us.
All right, they're not better than us, Chris Biose. Let's look at the critical issues. I'm going to take up the next question from his last statement. He talked about transforming the ideology of this generation. But then, I want to ask you, two key institutions are very vital for that transformation: the judiciary and the umpire, INEC. If people are held accountable and the present political elites see that when you do the crime, you do the time, that corruption leads you to prison, I think that is a trajectory towards the transformation that we're talking about. Of course, INEC, the umpire, how reliable, how confident would people believe in an umpire that has compromised before? So now let's look at the judiciary and INEC and their role in this Fourth Republic, moving forward with 2027 in sight.
Thank you very much indeed. INEC, the present judiciary, the historical process by which the crop of the present occupants of the judiciary, right from the magisterial to the High Court to the senior to the process was politicized and irredeemable as far as I'm concerned. The same goes for the legislature, for the Akpabio-led legislature. Well, I believe in the transformative power of leadership. Yeah. And that the influence of a leader can transform this. One leader can transform the society. The direction of the leader. I think it was when Ribadu was Ribadu.
Yes, I like that word. When Ribadu was Ribadu.
When Nuhu Ribadu was Nuhu Ribadu. He said that what he was going to do when he was the head of the EFCC, that he was not going to go for the small rats. He was going to go for the big people. He said, why do you pursue somebody who stole a chicken while the person who stole an elephant is there? And he named the governors, including the present governor, the present president, that were among the most corrupt people in Nigeria.
And today he's serving under the government.
And he said he was going to go after them. And I don't believe we have somebody like that who is going to do that today. But I believe in the transformative power. And when I say when Nuhu Ribadu was Nuhu Ribadu, he was effective at that time, until he became swallowed by the system, like many other people have been swallowed. So, coming to the INEC, I believe that we have to give Professor Joash Ampumpitan the benefit of the doubt.
Yes.
Those who spoke about him talked about his credentials. I know very well that there must be many good people there. But the main crop of people must be rotten. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had what we had in 2023. We wouldn't have had what we had in the last election in Benin, in Edo State, where people were writing results. And the judiciary was saying it was okay. What we had in several other elections. So let's give Amopito a chance. But I personally believe that, like my young friend here said, a new crop of leaders, how does it emerge? I personally believe that it is not too late to build a critical mass of youth, not only youth, of Nigerian citizens, young and old, who can stand on their own from now on and say enough is enough to the rascality that is going on in the judiciary, in the legislature, and particularly in the executive. The present executive has an unmistakable program of capturing the entire state. State capture. We are moving towards a dictatorial one-party state. And it is extremely dangerous. And I call on Nigerians, I call on all Nigerians of conscience to come out in unmistakable terms. Not only the youth, the women, the social, civil society organizations, the media. The media has been, well, I won't blame the media too much. I won't blame them too much, but I blame them. I remember 2020, When the media was broadcasting what was going on at the Lekki toll gate, broadcast what was happening. And the Buhari administration fined them 5 million for broadcasting facts and threatening to close the stations. Can you imagine that? They don't want the Nigerians to know what is happening. But I still believe that the media has a critical role to play, like it has been right from pre-independence times to today. So I believe that like what you are doing here today, informing the public, informing Nigerians, a critical mass of Nigerians will rise. And I believe, I'm sure from my own experience of what I'm seeing in the environment, that most of those leaders are not carrying along their people with them. Coming to Delta State, right from the First Republic, Delta State was one of those regions, or one of those parts of the country that struggled to assert itself right from the old Western region by seeking for a state of its own. It was then called Midwestern region. Deltas were not called Deltans then, were part of that struggle. I believe that the present Deltans can be in the forefront of the struggle of asserting themselves. We cannot be appended to a Miloko. We cannot be swallowed by a Miloko, a fake Miloko that knows a personalization of government in Nigeria. It will not help us. So I'm calling on the present generation to rise up and rescue the country from this trend that is threatening to envelope them in something that is even worse than military dictatorship.
Talking about rescuing the country, let's look at, I'm listening to the both of you, I picked out a certain index, and that is the youth. Now, fortunately, most of the youths are now into politics, and they have told the same line that their mentors have exhibited. We have a lot of youths as councillors, we have lots of youths as local government chairmen and national houses of assembly, and etc., etc. Let's look at the role of the youths. We're talking about the youth. You have contested an election and lost because of the role of the system, not because you are not a competent candidate. But does Nigerian democracy recognize competence, recognize intellectual capacity, and their capacity for service, not for self-service, but for service-oriented service to the people?
It does, but in a negative way. If you're very competent and if you have so much capacity, you'll be kept aside.
Yes.
They want to deal with you in such a way that you're not aligned with them.
Yes.
You know, it's a very ugly situation. And thank God in passing you said the system. Young people are in politics, but young people have not unmuted their minds. They've not unmuted their minds. It is still under lock and key. For example, if you find a young person as a councillor, as a chairman, as a House of Assembly member, is not there by the power of the people. One of those who you call godfathers must have made him. And again, it's going to be answerable. You're not going to be answerable to people who did not contribute to your success. You want to answer to those who made it possible for you. And that's why I'm telling the people, we, not the politician, we as citizens of Nigeria, we must unmute our minds. We must wake up, we must stand up. I used to make a very good comparison. If today I have the resources to pick ticket for Senate, and the former governor of this state picks ticket for Senate, I'm not sure of winning, because I'm not sure of you out there that you're going to make the decision that this young man can serve me, can represent me, can go for me. He can burn the midnight oil to do the needful for me as a representative. You will rather collect the bags of rice, the millions, the billions. You will forget that the billions he's distributing is the one he stole.
Correct.
It wasn't his money. Before he came to government, did he have it? Or even if someone else gave it to him, when he enters power, he will want to take it back. So we must open up, we must realize this, that it's a very grave mistake for us to sell our future for peanuts, for a plate of porridge. So you see, when you find those young people there, because they are not there, they are not riding on the power of the people, it is difficult for them to take a stand. In fact, someone told me, because again our system is not working, how a young man was in the House of Assembly in a different party from the one on the center, and he wasn't getting the benefit of other fellow legislators. These are not supposed to be, if our systems are correct and are working, such that you can even challenge the governor or the president in the court and you are sure of justice. Right. So we must build a people that has value, that there's a justice system. The judiciary, I don't know who's going to deal with them. Because executive buys them over, they begin to, so they were supposed to be the hope of common masses, or the masses, I wouldn't say common, but they are not there for us. So people want to play along and just have the day.
Thank you very much, Chris Biose. Let's take you for like just 60 seconds. Your closing opinion on the discussion so far. I mean, what is the way forward for our democracy with the kind of political prostitution that we've seen hobnobbing, as the case may be? What is the way forward? Because we are looking at a country that is snowballing into a one-party state, and a country where there's no opposition at all levels, at the Senate and anywhere.
Thank you very much indeed. I think it is clear to the majority of Nigerians that Nigeria has been getting into more and more economic, social, and political difficulties than it was in the past. Like you said here, we criticized each administration, but we find that the succeeding one tends to be worse. Exactly. So my appeal to Nigerians is that all those who recognize that their condition is unacceptable, for the sake of themselves, for the sake of their lives, for the sake of their children, for the sake of their friends, for the sake of their wives and husbands, for the sake of the future generation, for the sake of all that is good, we have to make the right choice and stop choosing candidates, House of Assembly, House of Representatives, Senator, Governor, President on the excuse of collecting 5,000, 10,000 or bag of rice. We have to choose on the basis of those we consider to be able to serve us to the best of their ability for the purpose of building a great Nigerian nation that will be of benefit and service to everybody. That is my plea to Nigerians today.
Thank you very much. That's been the plea of our panelists to Nigerians today. It's been a very informative and, of course, interesting topic we looked at. We looked at the tsunami in 2025 and the 2027 general elections, reflecting on the First, Second Republic, Third Republic, and, of course, the Fourth Republic. And taken through trajectory of historical perspective by my two panelists. I must appreciate you for coming on the program. Chris Biose, thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you very much indeed.
Yes, and of course, my Chika Moso, thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you.
The faculty returns to the studios again tomorrow. Please stay tuned. Good afternoon. What an interesting program.
Really great.